It's Tuesday, April 9th. This is an end of the day SPY recap, and today we end up with a 3-bar, meaning we take out the high of the previous day and the low of the previous day, and then we started up at the top, we came down, then we kind of came back into the middle. And all this really is just a continuation of this. How are we going to get out of this big red bar? And we talked about that ever since it formed. The day after, it likely should have at least tested the low. It didn't do that. It had a pretty strong, rally with some volatility, this green bar, but it was inside bar right in the middle of that big range. And ever since that point, we're just staying right in the middle there. And there's a big economic number tomorrow, and maybe that's what the market's waiting for. Although I still think it could be a tricky scenario where we could, go one way early and go the other way. We're still trapped inside this red bar, in other words. So really, that's all today was. Once we saw it fail up top here, which I'll get to in a minute, and come through the midpoint of that bar, we had a good feeling we would get to yesterday's low and the pre-market lows. Went a little further than that. We were but all it is just inside. If you look at the 15-minute chart spread out, this was the big red bar on the daily chart. From that point, we rallied up there, stayed up there yesterday, came down to the low of that bar, and now we're coming up again. So these 3 days here are just a big trading range, and it was kind of expected, when you have this big red bar. So what does that mean for today? It means out of the gates, the market took out the high of the previous day and the high of the pre-market range between the blue lines, had a red bar on bar 1, followed through on bar 2. I discussed how I bought some puts there. I scaled out when I took out that pre-market low, and then you had one more bar, and the puts really moved up nicely. I mean, this was just a great morning trade. You're coming down for the first push of the day towards kind of the low of that range. And obviously from that point on, nothing happened. If anything, it kind of bounced back up higher. But, once it started rallying up here, I was watching it 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It just seemed like more of just a deeper pullback, even though it's nice and orderly, that at that point, really on the next move down was going to have a hard time taking out that low. If somehow you judged it where you wanted this red bar to be a secondary trade that you thought was going to take out the low of the day, even though you're in a tight trading range and you know that, and this move, easily could just bounce all over, up and down, up and down, up and down. If you decided to buy some puts here, I think you had 2 hours of just price action where you wouldn't get hurt. And obviously you weren't working your way down there. I mean, if I was going to, trade this expecting that low of the day to be taken out, which I didn't, by the way, or didn't even interpret it that way, given the overall context. Once you watch that, you want to see it, definitely start moving down there. And once it just grinds, there's no way that you should, after seeing all this time go by, expect it to take that out. And obviously at some point, boom, it just kind of comes up by the end of the day. So we'll see what happens tomorrow. We have a big number, like I said, CPR number pre-market, so anything's possible. We're just gonna have to see how that market relates to this range. I mean how that number relates to the range and what the SPY chooses to do. It could be a very interesting day in terms of how the market reacts to that. But overall, I still see this as nothing more than an inside week here, choppy. Tough to judge, but like I said, if you follow kind of the way I like to look at the 15-minute price bars, so far it's been pretty good. You had a buy yesterday that you were able to take a very small loss and then actually make up for it by going short, taking out that low for the morning trade. This morning trade had a lot of volatility. Once you had the pretty narrow bar and you failed up top here for this inside green bar, not surprising that you'd come down within this range. This is kind of what I was hoping for. If you were going to get stuck inside this red bar, at least there was enough volatility when you watch the 15-minute price action early in the session to do well. And today was, one of those days. So very nice morning trade. Nothing really to do in the afternoon. And now we get to see where the CPI number takes us. Tomorrow, the weekly chart, right in the middle. It's green, but it's not even really green. It's just doing nothing. And our monthly chart is still down. We're still waiting for a breakout above that, inside range to turn this back to green. At some point, I expect that high, to be taken out of the month. So maybe tomorrow is the catalyst to finally move up a little bit and break out of this. Now we have a 3-day trading range that we're going to monitor. So again, trading ranges, play the breakout, expect to get up there, but also know within these 3 bars, any move up can fail coming back down, and any move down could fail and come back through. So keep that in mind with the inside price action. To me, I'm judging these 3 days as kind of one big inside price bar, and we will go from there. But, very good trade today with the volatility to the downside out of the gates, and we'll see what develops tomorrow after the CPI numbers released.